In this interview, I talked to celebrity personal fitness trainer Michael George. Now, he's been in the industry over 25 years and he's helped sculpt the physiques of many Hollywood celebrities, including Reese Witherspoon, Christian Slater and Tobey Maguire. Now, I was so excited to interview Michael because he's known in the industry for getting people fit fast. Now, he's so experienced in doing this and he's achieved such phenomenal results that he's actually got his approach down to a scientific formula. So carry on watching this video and I'll see you guys in the comments. Is there anything in particular that you do differently than when you first started out?
For me, the biggest tip would be music. You know, you gotta have good music. We're a society where everything's fast-paced now. With a click of a button, we're talking to people, we're watching videos, we're turning channels with the remote. We need to have access to music that has a lot of variety, that motivates us and energizes us. I'll give you a perfect example. You know, I love music. I've always loved music, but I had a very limited music collection for about a 5-year period. Workout music. I like listening to like Kid Rock and Lenny Kravitz and some really upbeat type of stuff. My new assistant, who's really good with iTunes, all of a sudden put this whole catalog of music together for me, my style of music. And I mean, I love working out now. I've always enjoyed working out because it's my private time. But now I love going out there just to hear the music because I love music. So that's like one of the biggest things is, you know, make sure you have motivating music and a good way to listen to it. That will always get you pumped up and ready to go. So
what would you think is the most important lesson that you learned when you first got into fitness?
I learned very quickly on that what you put into what you're doing is what you're going to get out of it. If you give it everything you've got, you'll get those results. But if you don't, if you just sort of do it, you know, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, it doesn't work. Very much like a relationship. You know, you're either in a relationship or you're not. 1 foot out, 1 foot in doesn't really work. So, you know, hard work pays off, and you have to be willing to put in the time and the energy and the sweat to get the results that you want to get. And that's one of the most important things I learned.
So what do you think is the biggest barriers that most people have then to getting fit?
You know, time's the #1 issue for people, you know, especially with this fast-paced society. Time is the #1 excuse, the #1 obstacle. So working with me, that they sort of have to schedule that time, so they're forced to do it. Lack of knowledge, not knowing what to do and how much of it and when and for how long or how many reps, how many sets, you know, not understanding the whole process of what they need to do. So lack of knowledge is another one. Lack of motivation. Some people just don't intrinsically have that drive or that motivation to do it themselves, you know. And for a lot of people, lack of hope. They've just given up. They, you know, maybe they've tried to get in shape before and failed numerous times. Maybe they're, you know, have a lot of body fat to lose, or they're really overweight, and they just don't have hope. Those are all obstacles. Those are all obstacles I try to push people through.
Is there anything in particular that you can recommend for beginners starting out to just get a basic good foundation?
Well, you know, consistency. There's nothing better than being consistent. You have to be consistent with this. You have to make this a lifestyle. This is not something you do, you know, when you have free time or because you want to drop a few pounds or you want to look good for that dance party or that event. Excuse me. This is a lifestyle, and you have to approach it as such. You have to approach it as you would any long-term agenda. To be consistent, you have to make a very strong commitment to your own health and to what you want to be, what you want to make of yourself in the fitness world. So you really just have to be consistent, and you have to do it. I mean, the Nike slogan, just do it. That's what I tell people, just do it. It doesn't matter if you're feeling tired or all those excuses, throw them out the window. Just, you know, stick to a plan and do it every day. You don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to do it.
What about people tracking their progress? What do you recommend for people?
Well, it really depends on what their goals are. I mean, if you're an athlete and you're trying to take things to the next level, you would measure things differently than a person that's just trying to drop a lot of body fat or wants to get strong. It really depends on what your goals are. So you have to measure a lot of different areas and look at a lot of different areas. You know, in terms of body fat measurements, you know, depending on how much weight you have to lose, every 30 days to 60 days is a good way to do that. The scale is not a good indicator of what's happening inside your body, because if you just start an exercise regime and you're putting on lean muscle mass, which weighs more than body fat, the scale is never going to reflect what's really happening inside your body. It takes your body a while to drop 1 or 2 pounds or to gain 1 or 2 pounds. So the scale is a bad gauge of where you're at. Your clothes will tell you, you know, how your clothes fit will always tell you. I'm sure you know that. You put your jeans on, you know, and you know, and also your friends, your close friends, they will tell you the truth. The scale won't tell you the truth. So in terms of body fat measurement, that would be your best bet. In terms of strength, you know, you just have to sort of see how far you progress and track it. I like people to track things on a monthly basis. You know, if you're lifting a certain amount of weight for a certain amount of reps, you know, at one point, and then 30 days later, you know, you're lifting 20 or 30% more, well, that's a good indication that you're 20 or 30% stronger. You can track it, you can journal if you want to. That's another way. A lot of people do a lot of journaling. Or you can do it sort of just eyeballing things and just sort of being aware and perceptive of what's going on with your body. But most likely throughout the process, you will feel like you're losing weight, you'll feel more positive, you'll feel like you're stronger. All those things that will be progressively happening throughout the process.
What common mistakes do you see people make when they first start exercising?
The biggest common mistake I see is unrealistic goals. You know, people think that they've gained 30 pounds in 10 years, so they're going to drop 30 pounds in 3 weeks. It doesn't work that way. We have to set, people have to set realistic, attainable goals, and they have to start with baby steps. You're not trying to lose 30 pounds. You're trying to lose 10 pounds in maybe a month or in 4 to 5 weeks. Whatever goals you have, you need to start with baby steps and set up small, very easily attainable goals, because each time you attain one of your goals, it empowers you to achieve the next one, and empowers you to achieve the next one, which keeps you motivated and keeps you in the process and moving forward progressively. However, if you set unrealistic goals and you don't meet those goals because they're unrealistic, you're not going to be motivated. You're going to get bored, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to get irritated, and most likely you're going to stop, or you're not going to continue trying to achieve the goals you want to achieve. So setting realistic, attainable goals is something that's extremely important when you're first starting out.
And there's lots of unreliable information on the internet. Can you debunk some common myths?
There's a lot of fallacy out there, and I have clients ask me the questions all the time that I can't believe they've read this stuff in magazines or heard it on TV. The biggest one I would say really has to do with women. A lot of women still believe that if they do strength training or resistance training, that's going to make them big and bulky and they're going to look like bodybuilders. You know, I mean, come on. That's not realistic, and it's not true by any means. Men have testosterone. We were born and we were made to build a lot of muscle. That's part of our makeup. Women have estrogen. They were not born to have a lot of muscle mass. So a woman has to really train really hard with a lot of heavy weight to get really big. But on the flip side, what having lean muscle mass in your body does, it's a very, very simple process. The more muscle you have in your muscle burns calories a lot faster than body fat does, up to 9 times faster. So the more lean muscle mass you have on your body, the higher your metabolism goes up, the more calories you burn on a day-to-day basis or in your daily activities. For instance, just sitting here, if I have a lot of lean muscle mass in my body, I can burn maybe 15, 20, 30 calories just sitting working on the computer in half an hour. Somebody whose metabolism is really low will probably burn maybe 4 or 5 or 3. So For women, you need to have muscle mass in your body, but it's, you know, but I know that women want lean, sculpted, toned, the slender look. Well, that has to do with the way you train. You just use a lot of lighter weight with higher reps, and that's going to lean you up and cut you up, but also still keep that muscle mass on you so that you can reduce your body fat. Another thing that, another fallacy for women and men alike is when people first start training or they embark on a fitness regime, you have to understand that you're going to drop body fat slower than you're going to put lean muscle mass on. So initially it might seem like you're getting bigger, but that's not truthfully what really is happening. It's just taking your body a little longer to show the body fat loss. So just be patient and just keep doing what you're doing. And eventually, you know, in 3, 4, 5 weeks, you will see the body fat reduction and your body will slim down a little bit. So just work through that period of time. It can take some people up to 6 weeks to kickstart that metabolism. You know, it's not, if you've been sedentary for a long time, you can't expect your body to bounce back just like that. It takes time.
What kind of weights would you recommend they start off with?
Well, this is the deal. I don't tell people what weights to use, because if I do, they'll stick with that weight and they'll never change. And that's not what I want. They have to keep being progressive. What I tell people is to use a weight that is challenging but doable. If you can sit there and crank out 50 reps or 30 reps or 20 reps of bicep curls and you're not even working at it, well, the weight is too light. It's not challenging. Now, if you can barely get 10 reps, well, then it's probably too heavy. So you've got to find the place where you can get 15 to 20, maybe 25 reps in, but it's challenging at the 15-point mark or the 20-point mark or the 25-point mark. You have to challenge yourself. And the weight that you're using isn't going to remain the weight that you're using for the rest of your life. It's the weight you're going to be using for today or maybe the next day. But you progressively want to take weight up to a certain level. Not that women want to get up to 100 pounds of chest press, but they want to keep taking the weight up so it's constantly challenging them. At some point, you will get to a place where a specific weight is challenging you every time. And then it's just about changing up the exercises and the way you do things, because it's important to shock the muscles and continually change your workouts. That also keeps you motivated too.
Take me back to when you first got serious about exercise and tell me the story of how it actually became your career.
Well, you know, that actually goes way, way back. When I was growing up, I was a very chubby kid. I was overweight with bad eating habits. And when I was about 17, I noticed something called women, and they weren't looking at me, you know, and I got very self-conscious. And so, you know, I really wanted to get myself in shape. So that's exactly what I did. I lost about 55 to 60 pounds in about a 3 or 4 month period, all on my own, just trying to, actually not on my own, I ordered the Charles Atlas weight training program. It was a long, long time ago. And so I used his program, but I was doing it by myself. And I remember I didn't have weights. So I used a baseball bat, and I was stealing bricks from my mother's garden and taping them around the baseball bat. And I was doing all the exercises, and I started running. And I literally got myself in really great shape in about 3 or 4 months. And that was sort of how things started for me. I was always a very good athlete, but once I lost the weight, I became a great athlete.
So describe your areas of expertise and tell us about your personal style of fitness program.
Got a really big toolbox, and what I'm known for is getting people fit fast. I mean, I've turned this whole process of losing weight and getting into shape into a science. It's not brain surgery. I've done it so many times that I can take people from A to Z very, very quickly. But I do that with variety. I use a lot of different training techniques: high intensity workouts, interval workouts, workouts that consist of boxing and martial arts, maybe mixed with yoga, or doing some plyometrics work. So I'm constantly using a lot of different modalities, a lot of different tools, a lot of different training techniques. So the thing is, my clients never get bored. They don't have a chance to get bored. They're always a part of the process, and they're always learning new things and new skills because there's so much to learn. So I keep them motivated. I keep them, learning new things. I keep them engaged in the process of what they're doing. So that's sort of the gist of my philosophy. And also, I really try to figure out my clients. I try to figure out what makes them tick. What prevents them from achieving their goals, or why did they call me in the first place? And I find their buttons that I can push to motivate them to do what I want them to do, or to get into the shape they want to get into. Basically, what I do is I push people past their self-imposed limitations. Simple as that.
What's your #1 health and fitness tip that people can take away from this and they can actually put into action right away?
Don't wait. Start now. Start today. Make this a lifestyle. Make this a way of living. Improve your quality of life today. Get started right now. Don't wait. It's the biggest tip I can give people. Tomorrow may never come. We only have today. That's it. So live in the moment and get started now. Do it and stay in the process.
So can you recount any inspiring stories of people that you've actually helped improve their fitness levels?
I remember one young girl. She was 23. She was in college, and she was really overweight, probably about 65 pounds overweight, what she should be. She wasn't happy. She was very depressed and very isolated. And when I first met her, she didn't really smile much, didn't talk much. And I worked with her for, I think, about 4 or 5, maybe even 6 months. And we got her from a size 16 down to a size 6. And this woman's personality completely changed. She was vibrant, she was energetic, she was happy, she was motivated, she was joking, she was laughing. I mean, you could just see this whole transformation week by week. And when I first met her, she didn't want to date men at all. She was nervous about dating men. And the last time I talked to her, she was dating like 4 or 5 guys at a time. So she's really changed her life a little bit. Another gentleman, I trained, Alan. I trained him almost 20 years ago when I just started in the business, and got him in really good shape. And then he went off and did his own thing, and he got married and became successful and had kids. And and life got in the way. Time became an issue for him. So he came to me recently, and he was about 55 pounds overweight, and he was not the Alan I knew. He wasn't energetic. His shoulders were hunched forward. He was looking down. He couldn't really look me in the eyes. He wasn't smiling. He's a really short, sort of stocky guy. And you could tell he was not really happy with his life. And I told him, I said, if you do exactly what I tell you to do, to a T, in 3 months, you'll be a new man. 3 months, that's 90 days. That's all you gotta do is give me 90 days. So he did. He gave me 90 days. And he lost 50 pounds to the T. Because I weighed him the day he came in, and I weighed him at the 90-day mark, and he lost exactly 50 pounds total. And he put a lot of lean muscle mass on, and he was a different guy. I mean, happy, jumping around the gym, talking to people, smiling, joking. So, the way we take care of ourselves really has a big implication on our lives, and how we deal with other people, and how we deal with our life in general. I mean, being fit and healthy really is a huge positive influence on us in all areas of our life.
What's the most important thing a beginner can do to make their exercise routine become a habit?
Set up an exercise regime or an exercise protocol that is easy for you to do. If your gym is an hour away from your house, maybe that's not the best way to do things. Maybe you need to develop some kind of way of working out at your house with buying some equipment or DVDs or what have you, and you go to the gym twice a week instead of 4 or 5 times a week. Make it easy to find the time and what you need to work out consistently. Make it so because you want to make this part of your lifestyle, as I mentioned earlier. So in order to do that, we have to make things very easy. When we go to brush our teeth in the morning, typically the toothbrush and the toothpaste are right by the sink. We brush our teeth. We don't think about it. It's easy. It's done. We move on. That's how this process has to be for you. It has to be that easy. So it's not brain surgery. It's not like pulling teeth to find the time to work out or to make it happen. And I tell people that, you know, if time is an issue, you know, if time is really an issue for you, time is not the issue. You have to take a look at your priority structure in your life. What if your health and taking care of yourself are not at the top of that priority structure? That's why you don't have time, because you're not making the time. And if you want to live a healthy lifestyle, if you want to feel better about yourself, you have to find the time. And everybody can find the time at some point. There's always a give and take. You're going to have to give up something or surrender something. Maybe it means getting up a little earlier in the morning. Maybe it means you spend less time watching TV. Heaven forbid, you know, we miss a couple reality shows. You know, it's about setting the right priorities. If you don't have the time, you got to make the time. You know, that's not an excuse anymore. We all have 24 hours in a day. I'm a very busy man, and I still find the time to work out an hour to an hour and a half a day, 6 days a week, minimum, because I make it a priority.
And what about people who fall off track? If they started it out as a habit, how can they get back on track and not beat themselves up about it?
I can answer that through a very interesting story, something that happened to me personally. I was doing a television project, and I had a really horrendous experience. And I went to one of my mentors that I have a lot of older mentors that I talk to and converse with, and I told him about this experience, and I told him that I can never do another interview the rest of my life because I was just horrible. And he said, Michael, you know, a bad day doesn't mean a bad life. It just means a bad day. If you have a bad day, you just get back on the horse. You know, we tend to dramatize and make things such a big deal. You know, if you take a trip and you go off track, okay, you took a trip, you went off track. It's simple as that. You get back on track. If you had a bad meal, that doesn't give you the leeway to have a bad day of meals or a bad week of meals. You had one bad meal. Fine, acknowledge it and move on. As long as we're honest with ourselves, that's really the key. Acknowledge that we didn't do something we're happy about. We made a mistake. We ate something we shouldn't have. Just acknowledge it and move on. So if you have one bad meal a day, if you're eating 3, 4, 5 small meals or snacks per day, you still got the rest of the day to go. You know, don't beat yourself up. You know, we are the hardest on ourselves as human beings. We tend to beat the crap out of ourselves. And the truth is, you know what? We don't need to do that. We need to learn to love ourselves more, and just to be, you know, just to accept the fact that we're human beings. We're going to make mistakes. That's how we learn, you know? So just acknowledge that you made a mistake and then move on. No big deal.
Brilliant. Well, that's a fantastic way to end on.
There you go.
Well, thanks so much for sparing us the time to talk to me today, because you've given us some really inspiring tips and advice there, and I know our audience are going to get loads of value from it. So thanks so much.
You're very welcome.